It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining the conversation, and your timing is perfect because this is a conversation I think all of us in this country need to tap into right now. I love the INGRAM'S Skin Sessions, and they are back. And this year, we're excited to delve even deeper into topics that we are sometimes a little maybe too scared to have with ourselves, let alone anyone else. And this thought-provoking campaign is once again set to encourage more brave conversations, which are more than just skin deep. Our first topic, I'm really excited to delve into this one. The struggle is real: unemployment and mental health. Now, according to statistics South Africa, our country has the highest unemployment rate in the world. And in 2022, the stats, they remain at a staggering 34.5%. Now, this number starts looking tame when you start breaking out our younger age groups. Get this, 63.9% of those aged 15 to 24 and 42.1% of those aged 25 to 34 years old are unemployed in South Africa. Now, scratching below these statistics reveals a heartbreaking reality about how easily one can end up feeling frustrated, hopeless, and eventually completely burnt out while job hunting. And I think rising desperation can lead to severe mental health issues. We've seen this in the country over the last 2 years especially, and the collapse of self-esteem. However, identifying burnout may not be as simple as we'd like to think. Now, joining us today to unpack this multi-dimensional topic a little bit further and share their advice is actress, writer, and poet Lebo Mashile, digital entrepreneur Mpumi Ledwaba, and life coach Kirsty Melmed. Ladies, welcome back. So good to be connected with you in person, not on Zoom.
Right.
My mental health has just improved as a result of that. And thank you for rejoining these conversations, going beyond skin deep, because this, I think, is such a vital conversation to have, because we are just too afraid to be able to speak about these things in a way that we need to make it accessible, to normalize the conversation. It's a difficult one, and it's difficult to know where to start. Maybe, Kirsty, I can start with you, because when we talk about burnout, you would normally associate that with working too hard for 20 years and you then burnt out as a result of just making ends meet. Now we are finding almost an entire generation. When I talk about numbers like 60+% of people under the age of 24, that's when they should be at their most active and hungry hunting for jobs. Kids are burnt out just by the notion of looking for work because life is so difficult. Maybe we can start with the practical application. The signs of burnout. What are some of those red flags that someone is now entering into dangerous territory?
So I think the thing that we can all be aware of is when we experience stress in our life, it's actually a physiological thing that is happening to us. So it's our nervous system moving us from rest and digest, which is kind of our happy place, in our parasympathetic nervous system, down into our sympathetic nervous system, which is that fight or flight place.
Fight or flight.
And so when that happens, this is when we start to experience a lot of anxiety and a rush of energy to kind of get away from the danger or to fight the danger. And so that's when you might become super controlling. Signs like perfectionism, wanting to control everything and everyone around you, making loads of lists, and and that might sound like a practical thing, but actually if it's done in a
as a coping
compulsive,
mechanism,
exactly, kind of way, then it's actually not that healthy. And we're designed to experience stress in short bursts. But when you're job searching and you're not finding anything, and when you have the pressure of being young and finding your purpose and all of these good things, that's a long experience of stress, which leads to you actually going into that burnout place. And this is where that energy that you had to conquer leaves you, and you become very hopeless and very energyless, and you can lead to depression. And so I would say the warning sign is when you're going into that kind of manic state of wanting to fix the situation, that's when you need to be taking deep breaths, asking for help, reaching out for support, moving your body to help process all those stress hormones that are going through your body, exactly, so that you don't get to that place where you actually just can't cope anymore and there's nothing left in the tank.
And then we can throw in a little lesson in privilege, add to that some of these young people are most likely the only breadwinner in their family, or at least the pressure has been put on them to run their household, and it gets very real very quickly. In our line of work, we're normally out of work, girl. If you're an actress, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're getting a no. And people don't realize that about this industry. But it teaches you some metal, it forces you to grow thick skin and to understand. But you are constantly looking and you're constantly getting a no. How did you manage that part of your journey? Because it's still there. You're just going for bigger things and getting bigger no's.
Absolutely.
That's the way that it works in our world. How do you deal with that?
You know, for every audience that gives us a round of applause, there are 10 rejections, 10 gigs that don't materialize. The constant ebb and flow of this business it's very difficult to maintain and even keel. I mean, as you were speaking about like perfectionism and that constant state of anxiety, a lot of us live there just as a permanent reality. Like that state of anxiety is part of the fuel that we use to be able to perform and to do what it is that we do. So I think for me, managing that as I get older, it's that much more important because the knocks. Oh, thank you so much.
There we go.
Managing that that ebb and that flow and the emotional responses to the anxiety and the fear and the rejection and the depression is becoming that much more important as I get older because I'm realizing, like, you know, I'm not as resilient as I was.
I was waiting for you to bring out the R word. I was like,
Ooh, yeah, no.
That's a big
And
thing,
also with the last 2 years as well, you know, it's been such a tumultuous environment. And I think even if you, in our business, even for those of us who are working or have been able to hold on, there's so many people who aren't.
Yeah.
So you're impacted, whether you experience it directly or indirectly, it hits you. I think in the last 2 years, what's become very important is support networks, you know, being honest with people in my community about what it is that I'm going through, and laying it bare, you know, like I've just had an audition, I've been rejected, I feel like crap, please help now,
me.
you know, and being in therapy as well. I've been in therapy for the past 3 years, which has helped me to see how a lot of the behavior that I've normalized and that our industry normalizes is unhealthy behavior.
That aren't okay,
That aren't okay,
I mean, the world isn't quite okay, and it's going to be a few years before we are okay, and there is not a facet of life that hasn't been affected like that. We move online, and Pumi, you would think a digital creator online lives carefree. They never have to worry about anything. Just be creative.
Yeah.
But when you need to be creative to eat later that day, it becomes a very different prospect. Everyone has been affected, and just because you've got this myriad of opportunity out in front of you doesn't necessarily convert to you getting those opportunities. How do you manage your anxiety in that space, and how do you feel about the area that you're playing around in that digital world? Because it feels like mental health online is just as at risk as it is in, I don't want to say the real world because we live in our digital spaces now, but it feels like that mental health it's a very tenuous grasp in that online space.
Sure, I think just to even take it back from my own journey and my own career, I had to separate because in the beginning, I think you guys will relate, as a creative, you don't go in and make the money. You first have to sow the seeds, you first have to lay the ground, you first have to prove yourself, right? And I think one of the most important things that I need to point out to creators, especially young people, is that you need to be able to separate between my passions and my business, or my passions and what actually makes me money, you know? And when I started out, before I became full-time in content creation, I had a salon, I had a business, and then I started YouTube as a way to unleash my passions, to be creative. And before you knew it, because of consistency and the passion, then I started getting paid for that. But I think I just want to bring that reality that when you start out, chances are you're not gonna get paid. So to ease our mental health, it's important to realize that sometimes you can just have a passion, and it is that, and you need to be consistent in that, and eventually it will catch on and you'll start making money from that. So it's important to really have that thing where you just get your fulfillment, get your release, find your sense of purpose, and then also make sure that you're making money somewhere before it catches on to the creative space.
Yeah, and often just think about the job that you have right now is the stepping stone to the job that you know that you deserve. I
mean, my business salon, I ended up using my YouTube channel to advertise my salon, you know? So things just work in steps, but I think as young people, we need to be able to separate, especially in the beginning. What brings me money? What brings me fulfillment? and eventually everything will come together.
They will merge.
They will merge, yes.
This conversation is definitely going to continue over, hopefully, for months to come. It is so good to have these thought-provoking Ingram's Skin Sessions back, and we're going to continue for the rest of this year, hopefully. But you too, most importantly, can join the brave conversation and, in so doing, stand a chance to win R1,000 every single week. That'll improve your mental health just a little bit, I guarantee you. And to be this week's lucky winner, simply reply to the competition post on the Expresso Facebook, Twitter or Instagram page by telling us how you've coped with burnout from job hunting while unemployed. And don't forget to include that hashtag #YourSkinYourBrave. This week's competition closes on Friday the 1st of July at midday, so you don't have a huge amount of time, but you can find the terms and conditions on expressoshow.com, and we'll keep the social media updates, or at least the handles of our 3 guests today, on our social media platforms, so you can continue the conversation with them as well. It's all about finding people within your network, within your community, within your tribe. Connect to them, let them know how you're feeling. I can guarantee you there is an insight waiting to help you right now, but just ask for help.
Yeah.
Do you own your skin? Do you wear it bravely, even when others try to dim its glow? Does it represent your strength, your heritage, or does it express your brave and unconditional love? New look Ingram's, your skin, your brave.